Namaste and welcome to another episode of our Gita series. In our previous episode, we found out how Devrat took the oath of celibacy so that his father could marry again, and he relinquished his throne so that his stepbrother could become the king. We had left Devrat, Shantanu, Satyavati and her two sons, Chitrangad and Vichitravirya in their palace. Outside that palace, people of the kingdom were not happy that Devrat was not going to become their king anymore. People were criticizing their king for this decision. Since Satyavati was a common fisherwoman and not from nobility, questions were being asked about the nobility of Chitrangad and Vichitravirya. They said that their blood was not pure. Maybe that was true in the case of Vichitravirya because he eventually died of a sickness. When Bheeshm learnt about such talks, he clarified that it was not Shantanu's decision but his own. He was the one who took this oath and made those promises to Satyavati's father. So the king must not be blamed for the decisions he made for his father's sake. Their prime minister asked a very valid question. Who would be held responsible if the new prince did not turn out to be a good king? And that is when Bhishma raises his arm again for another oath. And that is, he will serve the Kuru throne no matter who sat on it. And he would always see his father's image in the king. Meaning, he will follow the orders of the king always. Thus, Kuru throne gets an able guide in the form of Bhishma. But this is also the reason why Bhishma, being so wise, fought as Duryodhana's commander-in-chief during the war in Kurukshetra. He was bound by his oath to serve whoever sat on the throne. And after royally messing up the family tree, Shantanu passed away, and Chitrangad, being the elder prince, sat on the throne. He was brave, and with bravery came pride and arrogance. Bhishma tried to correct him, but couldn't do much because of his oath to obey the orders of the crown. Chitrangad started disrespecting everybody. Things were about to get out of hand, but then help came in the form of Gandharva king. You might be wondering how. He was also named Chitrangad. Is this fact important? Yes, very important. Without any provocation, one day this guy challenged our arrogant Kuru king Chitrangad for a duel. Why, you might ask? The Gandharva king Chitrangad said that there could only be one king with that name, that is Chitrangad, and since both had the same name, one would have to die. So they fought, and the Gandharva king Chitrangad won, and the arrogant king Chitrangad lost his life. Now Vichitravirya becomes the king after that. Satyavati commands Bhishma to get him married to the princesses of Kashi as their Swayamvar was approaching. Who were these princesses? Amba, Ambika and Ambalika. The eldest one, Amba's story is so amazing that she deserves an episode for herself. But I don't want to digress too much. Amba is secretly in love with Salva, the king of Saubala, and she has promised him that she would place the garland around his neck during the ceremony of Swayamvar, choosing him as her husband. During the Swayamvar ceremony for the three princesses, Bhishma storms in and challenges all those present there for a fight. Or he says he will abduct the three princesses as brides for the Kuru king Vichitravirya. He abducts them, but the other kings try to put up a fight. Of course, they stand no chance against Bhishma. Then Salva challenges him for a duel, but Bhishma defeats him. Of course, he wounds him, but spares his life, thus humiliating him. The three princesses were presented to Satyavati. When Bhishma finds out about Amba's love for Salva, he apologizes and sends her to him with an escort, fit for a princess. Salva, on the other hand, has lost his honor. He tells Amba that by law, she now belongs to Bhishma because he won her hand fair and square by defeating him in a duel. He can't marry her anymore, so he sends her back to the Kuru court. Bhishma refuses to marry her because of his oath, and Vichitravirya refuses because she is in love with another man. If fury had a face, it would look like Amba's on that day. Revenge drives her into the forest and she performs severe penance for several years. Finally, she gets a boon to kill Bhishma in her next life, which she does after being born as Shikhandi. Meanwhile, Vichitravirya dies due to an illness, leaving childless Ambika and Ambalika behind. Kuru line is threatened and Satyavati asks Bhishma to sire children through the widows. But of course, he refuses. She then approaches Ved Vyas to sire children so that the lineage could continue. Now, this method of siring children through sages was a common practice for many royals to ensure that the line continues. This is how Pandu, Dhritarashtra and Vidur are born. Bhishma thus continued to guide the princess and run the affairs as the backbone of the kingdom. Now, this was a shortened backstory of one of the most interesting characters in the epic. I wish I could cover his story in detail, but let's not make the armies wait too much. So here comes the 12th verse of the first chapter. Tasya sanjayana harsham kuru vriddha pitamaha singhanadam vinidyochai shankham dadmo pratapavan. Which means, then the grand old man of the Kuru dynasty, the glorious patriarch Bhishma, roared like a lion and blew his conch shell very loudly, giving joy to Duryodhana. Blowing the conch shell signifies war preparedness. The powerful sound was used by warriors to encourage soldiers, filling them with the zeal to fight. When Bhishma, the best warrior among them, blows his conch, it thundered like the roar of a lion, and Duryodhana's confidence and joy had no bounds. I hope you enjoyed our short 3-part series on Bhishma along with today's verse. With that, we come to the end of this episode, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to become a part of this journey where we discover the mysteries of Gita. Thank you and goodbye.